Hey, Closet Busters, come on and gather around. It's time once again to kick down those closet doors of life. We're here to escape our BS, explore our fears, and elevate our self-expression. I'm your host, Rick Clemens, bold move expert and coming out coach, and I'm going to take you to the party, the pulpit, the wake, and back to the party of living your life uncloseted. So come on, grab hold of yourself and get ready to step out, step up, and step into living your truth as we explore more stories, tips, and tricks for living your life uncloseted. Now let's get to the show.
Hey, Closet Busters and bold move makers. It is time once again for Life Uncloseted. And sometimes you hit this point in your life where you're like, what the fuck is going on? And then suddenly something comes out of nowhere and you're kind of a different person. And you're the kind of person that some people look at and go, oh my God, they are so not the norm. And then you start to realize I've got to get through this and I'm not weird. And I just happen to be autistic. And today my guest is a fellow writer. He's actually my editor who looks over my shoulder when I publish stuff for the Good Men Project. His name is J.R. Reed. He is an adult autism advocate guy that I love. We have become quick friends in a very short time here. I love his blogs. I love what he podcasts about. I was just recently on his, and he calls himself kind of the nerd owner of an award-winning purple goatee, and I agree. He is very much a proud Aspie. And today we're going to talk about autism, the effects it has when you discover you have it late in life. So, hey, JR, welcome, man, to the podcast.
Well, I got to say, dude, that was a much better intro than I gave you. So thank you very much.
Hey, it's okay, man. I kind of, this is one of those things I think I actually did that all on the fly. Just kind of looked at your bio that I looked at before. But I love just like, okay, let's see what Rick can do, you know, in the improv. So
and just to be clear about the award-winning purple goatee.
Yeah. Have you changed the color, man?
No. The question I get asked more than anything. Yes, there was more than one. Yes, there was more than two people in the competition. So, you know,
that's awesome, man.
It was not just me and one other guy.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I always say I win the award for one of the sexiest bald heads in the country, but I'm the only one competing. So there you go. You know.
Yeah, there you go.
But so I kind of gave everybody the insight, and you know, this is one of those things where you and I talked about this, you know, as we've gotten to know each other, and then I said, you know what, I think this is an important thing to share because it is a closet story. It's about coming out of the closet and saying, okay, this is me. I have this wonderful thing called autism, and so many people, I believe, and I love that there's like the shows Atypical and things like that are starting to show up that really showcase what this is all about. But so many people are like, I'm so scared of this. I don't know what it is, and I don't know how to be with people around me who have this. What would you, as a guy who has it, like to say to those people?
I would like to say that, first off, I was 46 when I got diagnosed. Quick version is I graduated high school over 10 years before they started talking about autism in school-age kids. So I was always the weird kid, like you said. I was weird and not autistic. Then at 46, I became autistic and not weird. And then I dyed my purple goatee, and then I became weird and autistic. but yeah, that is a huge closet. In fact, I was in that closet for 2 years after I got diagnosed. I didn't even tell my family. So they just continued to think I was, you know, weird and quirky and odd. And I finally just gathered up the sack, as you might say, to just come out and say, look, I got diagnosed with autism and I'm autistic, and that's what it is. And it was tough. It really was. I don't know that it was as tough for people that are LGBTQ coming out, but, you know, it was tough for me. And I think it's tough for a lot of adults because they don't want to be seen as autistic because, as you said, a lot of people don't know what it is. In the last year, I've had two people in their 50s and 60s who thought autism was Down syndrome, and one person who thought it was being developmentally disabled, or what we used to call mentally retarded. So
amazing.
Yeah. So it's not as much a stigma as much as a lack of knowledge to a lot of people.
And it comes in, and there's so many spectrums across autism too, right?
Oh, absolutely. You can be very much like somebody who has Down syndrome and be a very low functioning autistic, or you could be high functioning and have Asperger's syndrome, which, you know, you're just very socially inept, but you might have an IQ in the 130, 140 range.
Right. Right. And I think this is why people are so confused is first, they don't try to understand, or they're afraid to go try to understand. And in so many ways, it's like being, you know, when you work with someone who's transgender, it's like, okay, well, I don't help me understand, but if you don't ask the questions, you make a lot of assumptions. So like in the transgender world, it's just another sexuality thing. Actually, no, transgender starts in a completely different space. And then they identify who they are in their sexuality. And here in autism, at least my understanding, and you've been one that's helped me begin to understand it better, and a few other friends, it can be lots of different things.
Absolutely.
It can be so many different things, but yet people are afraid to go there. And it's like, come on, folks, wake the fuck up. You can ask the questions. And there's ways to ask the questions too. I do realize that.
Sure.
But do a little bit of work. That's really all it is.
There's a professor, Stephen Mark Shore, who teaches at Adelphi University on Long Island, and he coined the phrase, if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism.
Right.
And that's true. And I've often said, if you put 100 of us in a room, you'll probably find 95 different combinations of our traits, but you might find 60 or 70 that overlap among a lot of us, but you'll find 95 different combinations total.
Exactly. So for you, how did this start to manifest? How did you even begin to realize, okay, something's different here and I need to be, you know, I need to go figure this out? And then how did it come out as a diagnosis for you?
Well, in my 30s, I wanted to get diagnosed, but my insurance would not allow that without paying huge dollars. And finally in my 40s, I was able to, but, you know, just working with people, I just didn't get along with them and understand them as well as I wanted to. They didn't understand what I was saying a lot of times. I couldn't understand what they were trying to tell me. That was a lot of it. And, you know, to this day, I've still got people who tell me, oh, just stop being autistic. Just stop it. Like, oh, okay, hang on one sec while I flip that switch at the back of my head.
And that's like telling somebody, oh, just stop being depressed. You know, let's just flip that switch and just stop being gay. No, doesn't work that way exactly. It's like, just stop being black or Asian or whatever, whatever you want to call it. It's ridiculous because it is something within you, and God love it. If we could figure it out, yes, it would be great if there was a cure, but I don't know that it's actually like, let's fix the problem. Well, it's like right now, it's just what it is.
But that's the problem. It's not a disease.
Exactly.
It's not a disease. It's a rewiring of your brain. Your brain is wired a little bit differently. So
many people do what I just did, and I did it purposefully so you could bring that up, that, well, then just take a pill and it'll all be better. Well, there's not a lot to fix, but let's kind of think about what can help people along. I know I suffer from depression, and hey, I'm okay with popping that little pill every morning, because if that's what keeps me at least at bay for the most part, it's a much better life than, oh my God, every day I dread getting up.
Well, depression and anxiety are two things that a lot of people on the spectrum, including myself, deal with. And you know what? I'm not a big pill popper. If there was another way to do it, I would, but I'm just like you. You know what? If that's what it's going to take, thank you very much. You know?
And I don't like that I have to take it, but I have now, you know, well, you know, the article I just recently wrote was obliging my depression, and it's a piece of obliging it. It's not making excuses. It's not saying, oh, great, I've got this today. No, it's like, okay, I gotta go kind of play with this right now, and I got to let it run its course, and then it goes forward. So, so what's been the biggest challenge then? I mean, it's not like suddenly, I don't even want to paint this picture that suddenly here's JR and he's this, because it was always there, right?
Right.
Part of you.
You're born with it.
Right.
So to me, the biggest challenge was a lot of times I would get overloaded. My senses would get overloaded, only I didn't know that's what it was at the time. I just thought I was getting burned out, and I would sleep for a while or have to just take a break. To me, that was the biggest thing, is finding out that that's what it was, and then knowing that I could, for example, Monday of this week, just 2 days ago, I had to drive 4 hours to St. Louis for a seminar on Tuesday, go to the seminar, and then drive back. Well, I knew that all of that would just be a big drain on me. And so I had to make sure that this morning I built in my schedule so that I could just sleep until I wanted to. So I scheduled nothing before 11 a.m. this morning. So to me, that was the biggest change, is knowing that and being able to build my life around that.
And I think that's for most of us who have some form of chemical body, DNA, all of that stuff that is wired differently, is finding out what we need to do to make it work. And it is a piece of coming out of a closet and saying, okay, I know I'm this. I'm going to own it. I'm not going to let shame and guilt hold me in that space any longer. And now how do I be my most authentic, productive, truest, all those words we like to throw around, self, with this piece of me? Because it's just another piece of me. I'm a dad. I'm a husband. I'm a bald guy. Oh, and I'm gay, and I'm a cook. It's all these things. And same thing applies, at least from my perspective, to people who are on the spectrum. It's
Absolutely.
just another piece of who they are.
Well, and that's why I write my Not Weird, Just Autistic column, but I also write a column on Thursdays called Life with a Side of Disability, where the whole idea is that you want autism or cerebral palsy or whatever your thing is to be just a side part of your life.
Yep.
You don't want that to be the focus. You want to focus on your life, and then have the disability just be something there, like the green beans or the mashed potatoes on your dinner plate.
So for you, it sounds like you have found a really unique and purposeful way to like be an advocate. What's something that you get from that for yourself by being a voice out here in the world?
A lot of satisfaction. I feel good about being able to help other people. It's not a prideful thing,
right?
You know, it's not like I'm beating my chest going, oh yeah, I helped somebody else today.
Right.
But it's like, because I don't care if anybody knows that it was me that did it, you know, but if I can go out there and help somebody or help a cause, you know, and teach some people, that's half of what I do. I say that my mission is, 1, to help people on the spectrum to live better lives, and 2, to educate those that are not on the spectrum as to who we really are and what we bring to the table. And what we bring to the table is out of the box thinking and very logical thinking. And I've often used this example. If you're going out and playing paintball, wouldn't you like to have somebody that's an out-of-the-box thinker and a very logical thinker on your team?
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Or if you're in the business world, you know?
It's the same thing. And I think there's so many unique lessons that people can learn when we open our eyes and go, okay, let's understand this autism spectrum and how everybody falls into it. And also let's understand the beauty of what those people bring to the world, which is the same thing that I feel like LGBTQ people are always saying too. See me, see the beauty that I bring into the world by being my own unique self. And then let me contribute that piece to the world in my own way, which is all any of us want as human beings. I think if we all stripped it down to the bare naked essence is, let me be who I am. Let me be my unique self, and let me contribute to the world in my own way. What fucks everything up is when you think your way is the only way and everybody has to march to that standard.
Absolutely. And this is going to sound really strange, but I moved to the Ozarks about 1.5 years ago to cut down on the sensory overload. But I spent most of my life growing up in Long Beach, California. And Rick, you know this, being from California, about 20 years ago, Long Beach became the largest gay population in the state of California. So I think that honestly was kind of a benefit for me as I decided to come out of my closet, was being around the gay community for so long and really respecting who they were. And I still have so much respect for people that come out, you know, of the closet in the LGBTQ community, because that is such a bigger thing to me than it is coming out as being autistic.
And I would agree with you to some degree, but I think anybody who's able to come out and show their truest self, it's a journey. It's a big
I
journey.
agree. I agree.
You know, you and I talked on your podcast the other day, and most of my listeners have heard me kind of go through this, but it doesn't matter what the journey is. It can be coming out autistic. It can be coming out as a sex addict. It can be coming out to say, I've got cancer. Everything starts from a place of confusion. And then you just go through these steps of, you know, asking the right questions, being very curious, getting the answers so that you feel courageous enough to talk about where you are, who you are, what you do, so that you can build the confidence. And then you actually commit to saying, here's who I am. I'm going to be this person no matter what. And then staying consistently it. And when we give each other that beautiful space to go do that, I believe the world's a better place. However, again, I'm going to go back to when you do something and you believe you're the right way no matter what, which is where I believe a lot of people who take marginalized communities, whether it's the autistic community, the LGBTQ community, the Black community, and they marginalize us, it's because they are just hell-bent that, okay, yes, I want everything to be good as long as you are this.
Correct.
And that's when all the problems start.
Right.
And I would say, and this is something that I've gotten pushback on, but that to me is when we talk a lot about toxic masculinity and stuff in the Good Men Project world. And I believe you can have toxic whatever in any community, in the gay community, in the feminist community, and in the autistic community, in the Black community. We need to realize toxicity comes up, and let's all face it, and let's all try to quell it so that we can hopefully, which I know this is a biggie, hopefully get rid of some of that stuff so that we can allow each other to be who we are, as long as whatever we're doing, and this is the biggie, really does nobody else any physical or mental harm.
Oh, that is 1,000% for sure. I totally believe every word you just said.
Because I think too often we go the other direction, and it's like, and you know, from conversion therapy to, you know, LGBTQ people and autistic people don't have as many rights, and women don't, you know, anytime you're causing emotional or physical harm to someone, it isn't going to work, even though you think it does. And we see dictators, and, you know, I don't even want to get into the discussion of what our country's like right now, but it's just that same thing. So I know you were going to say something there, man.
Yeah, I was going to say that when I moved here to the Ozarks, I was extremely surprised to find in all places, and this is not a crack on the state, but Arkansas, there's a town called Eureka Springs, which is a pretty small town, but they have a very large, thriving LGBTQ population that is very well accepted by the city and is in fact supported by the city.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is being here right in what I kind of call the buckle of the Bible Belt, because this is kind of where the Bible Belt starts and starts heading south. I think that is absolutely amazing. And I've met the mayor, and I've talked to the mayor of Eureka Springs a couple of times. And I just told him, I said, I applaud you and your staff and your whole community for what you're doing.
Well, and I think it's a perfect example of when you allow people to be who they are, and you realize that me living as a gay man, you living as an autistic man, we're not causing any harm by being who we are in the community. We're just living our lives. You're getting up and doing your thing every day, just like I get up and do my thing, just like everybody who's a heterosexual gets up and do their thing. Just, we do our things. We make breakfast, we go to work, we write our stories, we come home, we have our moments when we're like, okay, give me a glass of wine or whatever it is. But we're just humans having a human experience. And why can't we just let that be? That's the biggest piece, I think, about when you look at the marginalized community conversations is, why can't we just let somebody be who they are?
And the one thing people forget is that there are a-holes in every community.
Yep.
You know, there are people that bring every community down, and there are people that bring every community up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So as you stepped into this diagnosis, and as you said, you headed in the closet for a couple of years, what has been one of the biggest challenges for you now that you're like, okay, this is who I am?
Letting people know exactly why I am the way I am. Again, like I said, you know, people think it's Down syndrome. People think it's being what we used to call mentally retarded. People think all kinds of things, and they don't understand it. to me, the lack of understanding is what is the biggest challenge to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's so similar, man, as you're talking, it's the same exact thing in the LGBTQ community. It's like, okay, I accept myself, but man, it's really scary to say this is who I am because of what society has put on it. And when you step into those spaces, there's resources to help you figure it out, and you can have all the resources in the world, but it comes down to that moment where you say, hey, I'm JR, and yes, I am autistic, and here's why I do what I do. Because it's scary to be that vulnerable. Yet it's also, I would assume, and I'm making a big assumption here, but only because I've been through it from a LGBTQ perspective, it's also empowering when you can finally say, this is who I am.
For sure. And, you know, the one thing people don't realize is that, Rick, the only difference between the two of us is our sexuality, and I'm autistic.
Yeah.
Other than that,
and you have a purple beard. I haven't gone.
Well,
there.
yeah, but I mean, in general, other than that, we're both people.
Yep, exactly.
First and foremost, we're all people. You know, you being a member of the LGBTQ community, unless you're out there, you know, flaunting it 24/7, which most people in that community are not.
Right.
The only difference between you and everybody else that you see every day is your sexuality. And
how does my sexuality affect you, and how does your autism affect me? It doesn't.
That was my point.
There's nothing that affects me. I don't care what and you know, it's so interesting because I just recorded another podcast, and I don't want to give too much away because you guys' podcasts are going to like follow each other, but it was all about race play, and it's about fetishes where people get into slave master, all that sort of stuff. And even as I listened to it, I'm like, not my thing. But that's all I thought. Not my thing. Whatever anybody wants to do, hey, you go do the thing that makes you happy. But no, people think, oh my God, you can't do that. That's so abnormal. That's so, you know, blah, 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 blah. Really? I don't see myself with a camera in your bedroom asking you what you and your husband are doing, and that's vanilla sex. So why do you have to be in mine? And I think this is the thing that happens over and over and over again is we get too busy being busybodies in everybody else's stuff instead of just going, hey, that works for them. Great. Not me, but that's their thing. Let it go.
Yeah. My whole thing is, you know what, when I hear stuff like that, to me, that sounds a little weird, but then probably what I'm into sounds a little weird to them.
Yeah. Well, there's always going to be something weird to someone else. And I spoke a couple of years ago at a high school, and at that time, I was using kind of a little phrase called make your quirk work. And that was my whole point of people are going to think you're weird. People are going to think you're a stud. People are going to think you're kind of obnoxious. But when it comes down to it, everybody is just freaking unique. But some people are going to think, oh, you're so weird. Well, I want you to make your quirk work. Whatever that quirky thing is, that's you. The best way to get through life is to realize that quirk is the thing that you can make work for you the most if you take it and run with it with pride.
So I got a question for you. If I tell you right now that I'm going to use that phrase, is it technically stealing it from you?
No, you can use,
okay.
You can use
okay.
it. It is my trademark, but you can use it. You can use it, man.
I love it, and we'll credit you for it.
Yeah. No, I love it. And I don't know if I have any of the t-shirts left anymore, man, but I'll send you a copy of what the t-shirt looked like.
I'd love it.
It's such a cool concept to think, okay, man, that's a quirky thing I do, but you know what? I own it. I own it that I have this like big black diva inside me. I own that she gonna come out, and she's like right here, just waiting to burst out even right now as we're talking. But she's my little quirk. And every time I let her come full out, oh my God, I can make her work so well when I'm on stage and when I'm doing my podcast from time to time. You can even hear my drawl starting to show up because she wants to come out real bad right now. And
I can tell.
So beautiful when we can take something that other people think is weird and we can truly own it and really make it work for us.
Absolutely.
I am most of my listeners know, and you know too, JR, because we've seen each other face to face. I'm bald, pretty much bald. I mean, I have a little bit left, and I remember when that started happening. And here's the thing, what I remember about it. I don't remember a thing because it wasn't my thing. But then one day I looked in the mirror when I was like, okay, this shaving the head thing, and I'm not completely shaved down, but I keep it cut really close. I'm actually pretty damn lucky because I have a pretty good looking bald head. Well, that's my quirk, and I love to make it work. I make sure it stays a certain way, all this sort of stuff. And that was one of the very first quirky things, even though there's lots of bald guys. It was one of my things that I thought, you know what? I'm going to rock this bald head. I'm going to go for it.
I will tell the listeners that you got a good looking dome.
I shine it every morning with passion, trust me. But so as you have gone through this journey over the past few years, what is something that causes you to want to keep sharing and really, really letting other people on the spectrum, and not just on the spectrum, but those outside, but specifically on the spectrum? What is one thing that you want to keep sharing to those people so that they can go and thrive?
That we are wired a little bit different, but that we're the same as everybody else deep down, and that we bring so much to the table that people don't understand. And if we can just help them understand what we bring to the table,